Hello, moms. Hold on, I'm just going to make this bigger so I can be here. Hello, everyone. I'm Brianna. For those of you who are new to this group, I'm an empowerment coach for teen girls and young women. And I wanted to just do a quick Facebook Live today about something that I think is so important. And most teen girls, young women, most people in general, not just teen girls, are not practicing this one thing that can really do so much. And what I'm talking about is compassionate self-forgiveness. Forgiveness is huge. And I think, something that we learn how to forgive other people. We learn how to forgive others, but we aren't taught this. How do we forgive ourselves? How can we bring compassion and loving towards ourselves? And I find that, this work is so important. And not just for the girls, also moms, you as well. We can all use some self-forgiveness in our lives from time to time, right? And I wanted to just, talk about this today because I just got off a session with one of my clients, and I led her, in a powerful healing process of compassionate self-forgiveness. And what I see very often with my clients, with teen girls and young women, is that it's hard for them to see how amazing and how loving and how spectacular they really are. And this often comes in when they make mistakes in their lives. They don't do something right. They say something that's maybe taken out of context. They make a mistake, and they feel like they're such a failure, right? And for you moms that are watching this, like, how many times have you done something in your life and you're like, oh my God, like, I screwed up, or like, I messed up, or I'm such a failure, and you can't let down that mistake because that mistake consumes you. It consumes every part of you. And I feel like this is what is happening with so many teen girls and young women. It's like they make these mistakes and they can't let it go. And what does it take? What does it take for your daughter to move beyond it? In order to move beyond it, she has to go down here a little bit. And forgiveness, I talked about in another one of my Facebook Lives, I talk about self-love. Self-love is part of compassionate self-forgiveness. They go hand in hand. Because when your daughter can be loving towards herself, and when she can be compassionate towards herself, that will allow her to look at things that have happened in her life in a different sort of way, right? It's like a different perspective. And so what I did with one of my clients today is, I led her in this healing process of self-forgiveness, compassionate self-forgiveness. And what's really important for all of us to understand is that we are all doing the best that we know how to do. Every single person is doing the best that we know how to do at any given moment. And sometimes we forget that, right? And our best isn't good enough. And we hold ourselves to such high standards. And when we mess up, it's just like, oh my God. And all of these limiting beliefs can come into play. Like, I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I'm such a failure. No one loves me. I'm all alone. I mean, all of this stuff can come up to the surface very easily if your daughter makes a mistake or she feels like a failure or something doesn't go her way. And so what I like to do with my clients is take them through, this healing process of self-forgiveness. Because what it does is it allows them to see the truth of who they really are, the loving essence of who they really are, without the limiting beliefs, without that negative self-talk that's always going on in here. Because the loving essence is separate from all of that. It's totally different. And so what I like to do, and I practice self-forgiveness for myself because it's important. And it's an important part of my spiritual practice. And so what I do is I like to really feel into this. And I take my hands and I put them over my heart. And sometimes I close my eyes to really get into this. And I say, I forgive myself. And then for whatever has been coming up in my life, whatever judgments I'm placing upon myself, maybe I made a mistake a couple of days ago and I'm still carrying it around with me. Maybe it's time to let that go. And so to come back here and to do the self-forgiveness, closing my eyes. And let's say I was judging myself. Let's say I was, saying I was stupid or I was no good or I can't do anything right. First I have to acknowledge what's been coming up. Can't just sugarcoat your way out of it, right? You have to acknowledge what is coming up to the surface. It's coming up to the surface because it's ready to be released. It's ready to be healed. So putting your hands on your heart, and moms, you can do this too. If there is something that has been weighing on your shoulders, if there's something that, in your life, if you feel like you have been carrying this around, or if you've been, your own worst bully this week or today, let that go. Do not carry that around with you for one more second. And the self-forgiveness, the compassionate self-forgiveness is the quickest way to do it. It can literally take a minute, okay? So you can do this with me if you want, but you close your eyes, put your hands on your heart, and you say to yourself, I forgive myself for, and fill in whatever it is, whatever judgments you are placing upon yourself. That's when you say it. So you just say it like that. And then what I like to do, take a breath. So after I say, I forgive myself for whatever it is, take a breath. Just release it. Let it all go. And I don't like to stop there. I like to follow it up with another statement of what the truth is. Because if we let go of what we're holding on to, then it's almost like we need to affirm to ourselves what the truth is about the situation. So if I'm forgiving myself for believing that I was stupid or that I made some mistake, then what is the truth? So I would put my hands back on my heart and close my eyes and say the truth is, and I could say something like, I'm just doing the best that I know how to do. I am not my mistakes. The truth is, I'm learning from this experience that I am stronger than I even give myself credit for. Or you can, any sort of lesson that you're gaining from the experience, you can tie that into the truth statement. The truth is, this experience is teaching me how to be more loving towards myself, how to be more compassionate towards myself. And when girls can do this, when teen girls and young women can do self-forgiveness and practice this, whenever their shit comes up to the surface, right? This is so healing. I can't even tell you how healing it is. And I don't usually do, in the session I just had right before I got on this Facebook Live, we don't just do one forgiveness statement. We probably did maybe like 15 or 20 of them, different ones. But it really is healing. And I tell this to the girls that I work with, even if they don't feel anything happening, right? They do the forgiveness and they're like, I don't know, I don't feel any different. Things are healing within them. They might not be able to see it, but this is the most self-healing thing that they can possibly do for themselves. And I do it for myself as well, because it's important. So moms, for those of you who are watching this, if you're watching the replay, if you're watching this live, practice doing some of this in your own life. This is not just for your daughters, this is also for you. So if there's anything that you have been, struggling with, if there's any, inner dialogue in your head and you're being really mean to yourself and you want to bring in more loving and more compassion, do some self-forgiveness. It is so amazing. It can literally take a minute or 2 minutes, a couple minutes, and you're going to feel amazing afterwards. And this is such an important piece of like the work that I do with my clients, because it's like, we've got to bring this stuff up to the surface. We can't just keep it down there. This is part of the healing. This is part of the healing work. This is why it's so powerful. So I just wanted to share this with all of you. So all of you, practice some self-forgiveness, practice some compassion, practice some, self-love for yourself. Because when you are practicing self-love and self-compassion for yourself, your daughters are going to pick up on that. And your daughters will do it for themselves as well. So I'm sending you all so much love. Mwah. Have a wonderful day. Bye.